And welcome. This is Chartwise Women with Ellen McGonagle and Erin Swenlin. This is the show where we bring you our expertise, always with an eye toward helping inform and educate you. We, of course, want to outperform the markets. And so we have a lot that we look forward to sharing with you today. Erin, how's it going? Are you staying cool? I know you're closer to the mountains, but we're getting triple digit
Oh,
weather.
yes. We've had over 100 degrees every day. I was commenting that on my Facebook page that, it's been hot when you sit out at 7 p.m. It's 97 degrees and you think, wow, it's actually kind of cool out here.
I actually live right across the street from a very lovely hilly park. And I thought, oh, well, I'll go out at about 8:30. It should be empty, take the dogs over there. And it was still rather full. I think everyone had that same idea. Go out the later you do, and it might be cool, but not
barely.
Oh my goodness. But let's talk about today. Erin, you and I yesterday were on a panel and we did presentations. Today's theme is going to be lessons from the pros. And it was a pretty esteemed panel that we were a part of. We both gave presentations about different topics, and we are going to share the highlights of that. I know that I'm going to be speaking about how you can profit when stocks pull back. I have some great current up-to-the-minute examples, and it's just a tremendous strategy. And Erin?
Yes. I'm going to be talking about how you can keep it simple. So I like it. Kind of brings us to the wisdom of the week right off the bat, right?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a look at this week's wisdom of the week. And I know mine ties in with my theme as well. And basically, if you can identify and pick up on these, what I'm calling strong stocks, basically outperformers, and capture them on a pullback, this will very much help you outperform. Of course, you don't want to chase a stock, but I'm going to get really specific as far as helping you pinpoint where to buy those stocks when they pull back, and how you can uncover candidates as well.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about keeping it simple. My title yesterday was Simple Indicators to Improve Your Stock Selection and Timing. So I'm just going to give a piece of that. But ultimately, it is, to me, you don't want to have too much on your chart. You want to concentrate on the really important elements, and you don't have to have a million indicators on your chart in order to do that. And I think your charts are very similar.
Yes, I think, my charts are not very crowded, if you will, so easy to follow. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I am sharing with you, again, part of my presentation from yesterday, but we're going to start by uncovering ways that you can get in front of what I'm calling top candidates. These are names ideal from my many years of experience that I've found to be ideal candidates for on this pullback. And number one, you want to screen in an industry group of the market that's outperforming. Over 50% of your stock's price movement is going to be attributable to that group that it's a part of. So I'm going to share with you a top performing industry group right now, and also make sure that the stock has had a recently, what I'm calling, strong performance. And by that, I mean the stock has had a strong advance and it has pulled back from that advance. And so ideally, the strength is because it has strong fundamentals and you can participate in the next leg up. Stock has a sound reason for doing well. It's healthy. It has strong growth, earnings, and sales. You want institutions involved. That leads me to more liquid stocks. And of course, you want to make sure the backdrop is there. The broader markets, the economy is expanding. So all of that is in place at this time. So very briefly, I can share with you how you can pinpoint your entry and exit points. So you want the stock to pull back to what I call a simple moving average. This will all make sense as we move forward. So let's go ahead and take a look, because also you do want, as the stock is moving away from that moving average, you want to see volume. That's going to give you conviction that the pullback will, in fact, the downtrend reversal or pullback reversal will take hold. And then ideally the stock will either break out of a base or begin to form the right side of a base. All of this will make sense, of course, as we move on. If the stock breaks below key support on volume, that is not what you want to take place. So let's take a look. Here's a key industry group that is an outperformer. A lot of strength here. This is technology, XLK. So this is where I'm going to be searching for these pullback candidates. So let's go ahead and take a look at a large sub-industry group within technology, and that is software stocks, IGV. So here I now know where I will be taking a look as far as my candidates. So first up, we're looking at Cloudflare. NET is the ticker symbol. And what I am identifying here is the fact that Cloudflare was one of the first stocks out of the gate when software came back on. That's telling me it's a leadership name. So this is a chart from July 20th, and I'm focusing on this pullback that took place at the end of July in line with other software stocks. So on this daily chart, the first thing I want to look for is the stock to break back above these simple moving averages. You want to make sure that your outside momentum indicators are in positive mode. So let's go ahead from here and we can see what took place. This is a current chart of Cloudflare. This is that pullback reversal, and the stock has had a very nice advance subsequent to that. So for identifying the entry point, you really quite helpful for my work is using an intraday chart. I use a 1 hour price chart with a 5 and 13 hour simple moving average. So here's that pullback in mid-late July that we were just referencing. And we can see here that your buy point as the stock breaks up above these simple moving averages. This is a July 20th chart. This is going to be your entry point. You want the RSI to trend and turn positive. We had this nice momentum indicator here, black line up through the red, your MACD, and then it eventually turned positive, giving even further confidence. So July 20th, let's see how the stock performs since then. And actually, I don't have that, but I did share that on the daily. Another example that we can take a quick look at here is DocuSign, another big leader here in software. We can see it had this pullback here in that mid to late July period, similar to software, the Cloudflare. And the stock did undercut this 21-day moving average, but it did find support and close the day above that. So this is your pullback reversal, if you will. So from here, we can go ahead and take a look at that intraday chart that I mentioned. So this is a current intraday chart, and this is that pullback reversal at that end of July. So again, your entry point here is going to be back up above these simple moving averages. You can see you had that nice MACD momentum shift to the positive, black line up through the red. And so here is your buy point. Now, I will tell you, DocuSign, let's go ahead back to this chart here. You still have positive momentum indicators on the daily. So we're on the lookout for that downtrend reversal. And we did get it today. It did break back up above this simple moving average. So hopefully we can share that toward the end. Another name that we can take a quick look at here is another software stock, Cadence Design, CDNS. And we can see that rather than a pullback, I'm pointing out a period of consolidation. This is a cup with handle formation. Stock hits a new high, and then it forms the right side of a base, and then in essence stalls. Rather than pulling back, it's in a back and fill formation period. We're on the lookout for a break back above the highs of this trading range. We can see the RSI is up here remaining in positive territory, likewise with your MACD. So we're just kind of sitting here waiting for this consolidation period to end with a break back above. So let's go ahead and move on from here. And in fact, we did get that taking place at the end of July after the stock released its earnings. So this is your buy point when it breaks back above this consolidation period. And we can see the stock has advanced quite nicely out of this cup with handle base breakout. So one other name that we can take a look at here, this is in the consumer discretionary space. It's MarineMax, HZO, and consumer discretionary stocks also had a period where they pulled back due to inflation fears. We're seeing a pullback again today, which could present a buying opportunity. But let's take a look at what I'm keying in on here. HZO hit a new high in price here in May, pulled back. The stock did find support at this 200-day simple moving average. We can see on these 2 days here, pretty big volume. The RSI turns positive. MACD did have that positive crossover, but it's certainly heading in the right direction. From here, we can take a look at a more current chart, and we did eventually get that pullback downtrend reversal on earnings. Oftentimes it will be news. Earnings is primary driver. We can see the stock broke back above each of these simple moving averages, and your RSI, MACD both up here in positive territory. And I believe I do have time to share a couple of other names here. This is another consumer discretionary stock that pulled back in line with the sub-industry group DKS, Dick's Sporting Goods. It did break below that 50-day simple moving average, but buyers came in, so it closed the day above that 50, and that's very bullish action. For me, I'm not going to enter the stock until I see a price break back above each of these shorter term simple moving averages. Make sure that upside resistance is out of the way, and then I can confirm that with positive outside momentum indicators. This black line up through the red on the MACD telling me that this downtrend has shifted higher, and we can see that DKS in fact has traded up nicely since that pullback. Rather than, of course, chasing the stock, it's an ideal way. One last name that I can share with you, and I'm here talking about using history as your guide. This is Facebook, and this is a chart from the end of July. And what I wanted to point out to you, oftentimes stocks will have historical precedent, but with Facebook, the stock hits a new high, pulls back. This was on earnings back here in late April, pulls back to that 50-day simple moving average, hits another new high in price, pulls back to that 50-day. So let's take it further and see what Facebook has done since that. This is a current chart, and sure enough, Facebook again hits a new high and is currently pulling back. But again, here you don't want to chase the stock. Using history precedent, that pullback is a much better buying opportunity. So I'm going to leave it there, Erin, hand the reins over, and you can share some of your wisdom with us.
Absolutely. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then I will be back with my slides.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, we are back with our Learn from the Pros. Mary Ellen and I are sharing our wisdom as far as what we presented to a panel yesterday. So we wanted just to give you kind of a sampling of what we were talking about. And what I talked about is, and a lot of people will recognize this heading, which is it's all on the chart. And that comes into my wisdom of the week, which is, of course, keeping it simple. So really, what are the components that I think are really necessary for analysis, especially when we're talking about a specific stock? You want to have these different time frame charts. That's also something I'm going to talk about. You want to have selection and then emphasis on when to enter using a 5-minute chart, which is what I'm going to show you as well. So what are the components? First of all, we do have market indicators versus single indicators. I'm just going to flip through this pretty quickly. The stock and index, stock and ETF indicators are going to be the ones that you put on your chart. The RSI, the PMO, the OBV, those are the things that I use. But then there are those index indicators, and they really tell you what's going on across all of the components within that index or sector. Some of the examples being, participation, the percent of stocks above their 20, their 50, and 200-day EMAs. The BPI is another example. I'm going to show you a little bit about participation when we go through my examples, but the components I think that are really necessary on your stock and ETF charts, and you can use different ways to pick different indicators than what I do, but of course you need price. I mean, that's obvious. You want to have a trend, so you can either use your trend lines, but I, of course, and Mary Ellen use moving averages for that. Condition, this is where your relative strength index, your RSI, comes in. It tells you whether price is overbought or oversold. You need a momentum component. Of course, I like to use my price momentum oscillator. And I think that that is, a pretty good place to start. Volume, I use on balance volume. You want to have some kind of a volume component, like Mary Ellen was showing you. It's important to know when the accumulation and distribution factors are coming in there. And then relative strength, that's different than the condition. The relative strength index is a measurement of price being within a particular range of the last 2 weeks, what its price range was, and then where it falls. Relative strength in this case is looking at that stock against its sector, against its industry group, and against the S&P. Again, very similar way we do our analysis, Mary Ellen. Mm-hmm. And then internal strength. This is something that I get from the StockCharts technical rank, which also gives me relative strength, but the internal strength as well, as far as what's going on with that stock. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I think it's important. I'm just going to get right on into some of the stocks that I talked about yesterday, so that you have some really good information just right out the gate. So what we're looking at now is the gold miners ETF. And I have this chart in my DP alert. I look at it every day. It's one of the few industry groups where we actually do track participation. So I do have my finger on the pulse of gold miners for, often. And I was starting to see some really great strength coming in. Momentum is going in the right direction. The RSI has just gotten positive on the gold miners. And you can see my Silver Cross Index. This measures how many stocks have their 20 above their 50-day EMA. So they're already set up in a pretty good situation already. You know that there's some price strength. 10% of them now have that. But the bias is very bullish in the short term, because 70% of the stocks within the gold miners have a price above their 20-day EMA. That tells me that this is just only going to improve. This tells me there's short-term strength, and it's someplace that we need to look at. And so this was one of the areas that I talked about yesterday. I've been talking about gold miners for a while here for my diamond subscribers, but you can see today we finally got a nice breakout. We were really consolidating here just under this area of overhead resistance, But like I said, we were starting to see participation building under the surface, which suggested we were going to get a breakout. We did get a breakout today, but as you can see, it's pulled back down pretty much in that same little price range. But there are a lot of gold miner stocks that I think look very interesting. First of all is Alamos Gold. And again, here are all those simple components on that chart. There's your RSI. We talk about it on this show often. You can see that it's now positive for Alamos Gold. Full disclosure, I own this one. I got in it when I presented it to Diamonds. Oh gosh, I can't remember, about a week and a half ago. I presented this one as a diamond selection. You can see a nice, beautiful double bottom had formed here. We finally were getting some price support at that 20-day EMA. Looking at those simple indicators under the surface, there's our momentum piece on the right momentum side here with the buy signal on the crossover. You can also see that breakout. It's getting ready to go into positive territory as well. The scooter, this is my measurement of internal strength. StockCharts does a formula that takes intermediate and long-term components and really puts that on it weights more toward those in the calculation. And so it does give me a really good measure of internal strength because it's doing better than its peers. So I have internal strength because I know that the calculation has put it ahead of, at this point, over half of the stocks in the mid caps. So this one was poised very well to break out. We actually did get a nice breakout today above the 200, which makes me very happy. If you were looking at an entry, this is where I time my entries and exits, and that is with a 5-minute chart here. And so we'll look at AGI really quickly. And as you can see, the buy point actually came in yesterday right at the close where you had that positive PMO crossover and the positive RSI. So that would have gotten you in just before the big gap up today. Well, we had the gap up, and like I said, you can see on the daily chart, it has pulled back toward that 200-day. And at this point, it's kind of holding this support level right here, but we may see lower prices coming in. RSI is now very negative, but getting oversold, as is the PMO. So what I do is I look for that PMO to start making the turn, and a conservative buy point is when that PMO on the 5-minute candle crosses up above its signal line while you have a positive RSI. Now you can also make some more aggressive entries based on just momentum when it shifts. But as you can see, it's usually a better idea to wait for those crossovers to give you a much better entry. You can see the entry back here, way down here on Friday that was looking good. But if you're still looking at the gold miners and this one in particular, you could just watch this 5-minute chart. When we finally start to see the momentum shifting upward, that would be a possible buy point. Another one that I'm looking at right now, and I presented on July 16th to my Diamond subscribers. As you can see, it was right here at that top. Of course, we did get an immediate pullback, which always makes me concerned. But at the same time, as Mary Ellen was saying, it also gives us a better buy point. You can really see whether that support level at that key moving average is going to hold. And it did. And we've gotten the breakout as of last week. I think Franco-Nevada still looks really good. You can see as far as performance goes, it's a top performer within the gold miner group. And here you can see where we're starting to see that relative strength starting to go to the upside here against the S&P. So I think that one looks pretty good as well. And again, you've got the 5-minute to give you an idea of when you can get into this. And let me see if I can find my keyboard here. So right now, when you look at Franco-Nevada, the buy point came in earlier today, right here where that PMO crossover happened, and you had that positive RSI. And you can see that would be where you would have bought. Now, currently, the sell point has just come in as momentum has shifted lower. So even, let's just say, even if you had gotten in here on that crossover right in here, and you've got to this sell point way over here, that would have still given you about a 0.5% gain just in a day trade if you were. But I know not many of us here are day traders, but you can see the volume is coming in and we've got that PMO turning over. So you might get a much better buy point. Something maybe will come in a bit lower at support.
Very good. I like it.
Yeah, so that's just a taste of what we did yesterday.
I know it. This is just a sampling of all the wisdom, but glad that we could share some of that today.
Yes.
Very good. So we're going to move on. Our last segment is Yeah, That Happened, where we share strange and glorious news from around the world. And today we are going to be talking about Dubai. The country only gets about 4 inches of rain a year. So they're finding that it's so hot right now that the government is artificially creating rainstorms. And you might ask, how the heck are they doing that? They are using drones, electrical charges from drones, and they're zapping the clouds. It's actually called cloud seeding. And so we're going to take a look at some drone related stocks. It's an interesting concept, of course, that you can fool Mother Nature, so to speak. Yeah, so first up here is Boeing, and lo and behold, in line with my presentation, it's a pullback. More of a downtrend potential reversal, but this is a daily chart of Boeing. They are a manufacturer of drones, not quite ready for prime time from my work. I'm going to need to see a break above that 50-day. The RSI not quite positive yet. We are getting that momentum shift indicator black line up through the red, but definitely has more work to do. So Erin, I'll go ahead and put up another stock here if you care to comment.
I will comment.
Yeah, so Amazon is not a manufacturer, but they are a user of drones. And we can see well, I'll let you take a look at it.
Yes, actually, I'm going to steal the screen because I talked about this one yesterday as, we had that giant pullback on it. And, we actually had some pretty good warning that was going to happen. The stock doesn't look that good. We had a double top. You could see the RSI had gotten negative. We had a negative crossover on my PMO, and all of this occurred while price was still up here. So we had all those warnings. And then of course, Amazon gapped way down. It's starting to try and recover a bit here, but I definitely don't think it is ready for prime time at all.
Very interesting. Yeah, that was huge volume on that gap down. I think we have time for one more. We can pull up Google or Alphabet, and they actually bought Titan Aerospace, and they are the manufacturers of solar powered drones. So they're in the drone game there.
Absolutely. Looking like an interesting flag top formation possibly here on Google. It was one of the few that reacted positively of those mega caps to earnings. And now it's pulling back a little bit toward that 20-day EMA. I'm not liking the way the momentum is shifting, but it makes sense given that we had that pullback. So
yeah, so consolidating a bit here, pulling back, and could present another buying opportunity. But I agree, right now it does looks poised for further consolidation. Absolutely. And I think we're going to leave it at that. We again enjoyed sharing our wisdom with you today, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Absolutely. Happy trading.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.